Leeds 1, Manchester United 1. A fierce, scrappy game. Exactly what you expect from such a rivalry, but a slight lack of quality. However, full of long balls, up-back throughs, duels and tactical changes. So let's take a look at exactly what happened in this match. So let's start off with the long balls, because that was of course one of the things which made this match so scrappy. Because the second you play the ball long, it's going in the air, you're putting yourself into a 50-50 dueling situation, and then the ball's going to drop and it's a scrap for the second ball as well. That's one of the reasons why we saw so many ground duels and aerial duels in this match. Now both teams sort of initially wanted to play out from the back, but both teams were incapable, which was a bit of a problem really for both sides. So United, for example, would try and play out, Yoro and Martinez would split, Casemiro would come in with Heaven, and United would want to play out from the back, but Leeds were happy to commit plenty of players high to the press, so Manchester United would end up playing the ball long. If we now go up the other end, Leeds would try and play the ball out from the back, United would put them under some pressure, matching the system, and Leeds would play the ball long. Now of course this sort of game immediately put things in the balance, it immediately means that both teams are going to be quite close to each other in terms of the level of performance that they are about to produce. Neither side is going to get the ball down and play neat, tidy passing and sort of progress through the opposition in that way. Both teams are playing long ball football, which means it can go either way. In one moment, Manchester United might win the first contact and the second contact, in which case we have a fantastic opportunity now to quickly attack. If we can pick up that second ball, particularly with Casemiro, with Sesko and Cunha ahead of him, we can find a forward pass and Manchester United can get themselves into a dangerous position. That can happen. The problem is in the next moment, we might send the ball long, we might win the first contact, we might lose it, but we might lose that second ball. And now suddenly we look exposed. Our forwards are all ahead of the ball, our midfield is now outnumbered and exposed, and now Leeds can move the ball forward. So I think immediately, this is one of the things which sort of tactically reduced the game to the basics a little bit. There's not loads of tiny details that we can talk about today, because sort of from minute one, both teams were playing long, which made it more about individuals and fighting and dueling and tackling more than anything else. Now, of course, if we are talking about a 50-50 football match, that means there are going to be some situations where Manchester United can get the ball. And I think United in this game found a weakness in the way that Leeds were playing. We found a free player which allowed us to move the ball forward. And we were able to do that because Leeds are often set up defensively in a bit more of a 5-4-1 shape. So let's say Leeds couldn't win the first contact or the second contact. United settle, get the ball down and pass back to one of the centre-backs. Leeds would then sort of almost retreat a little bit, rotate into a defensive 5-4-1, which is a half decent shape. You've got lots of players behind the ball. You've got lots of players in midfield as well. It's nice and compact. That's what Leeds are trying to do. What United look to do though was exploit holes in this shape, which obviously is a good thing. We would encourage that. And what we would do is drop Casemiro just in this space behind Calvert-Lewin, but in front of the Leeds midfield. Now at this situation, Ugarte would move a little bit further forward, almost out of the way. But what United now want to do is try and find Casemiro in this space here, because ultimately, apart from Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro is now probably the best passer in this particular starting 11. So what you want to do is try and get him on the ball. And the way that United would look to do that was by initially moving the ball forward up to someone like Sesko. And of course, as Sesko takes his touch, he takes the touch backwards. He sets the ball backwards with his pass. And that's how we find Casemiro. So this is essentially going to be an up, back and through. So we play the ball up from the back into Sesko. He plays the ball backwards. What this does is it sort of attracts the attention of the Leeds players. Defensively, they want to compete with that first duel there with Sesko, and then as the ball goes backwards, they sort of want to chase that next pass as well. But Casemiro was essentially now the free man in midfield with the opportunity to get his head up and play a pass. And more often than not, the way that he was looking to play was far to the left-hand side. He was looking to quickly move that ball forward. Unfortunately, his execution was off. Casemiro didn't have his greatest afternoon with his long passing. Sometimes on his day, he's absolutely magnificent, but he does play high risk, high reward football. So they're very difficult passes to play, which means if he completes it, it's fantastic. United are in a great position. If he fails it, United are in trouble because we've got loads of players ahead of the ball. And now if we lose possession, we're in a lot of trouble. So this is an area where United potentially could have hurt Leeds. And actually, we did eventually hurt Leeds with the goal, which we'll come back to later. But it was trying to get Casemiro into this position. So it's United playing long ball football, trying to get on the second ball. And then from there, trying to play quickly to hurt Leeds. Now, besides Casemiro sort of becoming the free player in the heart of the pitch, I would say that a lot of this game was largely focused out wide, and you can see that in the attacking focus for United, not really moving the ball forward through the middle of the pitch, instead looking to the wide zones, which is quite a common theme under Ruben Amorim, and it's almost understandable in this game. Because of the way that the two systems set up, with both teams using a back three, but also often using a front three, it meant that both teams could sort of match up with each other, which puts it man to man, and now puts an emphasis on technical details, but also players moving, players being free, players trying to manipulate the opposition. If Leeds are going to lock on with Manchester United here, the United players have got to be fluid to try and disrupt them. The technical details also need to be good. The problem was, in a situation like this, they just weren't. United don't combine very well and we lose the ball. And I think ultimately that's because of some of the coaching, but also the team selection of players we've got on the pitch. We all know that we had 9 defensive-minded players on the pitch, and typically these defensive-minded players aren't quite as cute on the ball, they're not quite as technical, they're not quite as sharp with the way that they attack, they don't move quite as fluidly, so that was probably why United had that problem. So many defenders on the pitch meant that we couldn't combine and we couldn't be fluid. As for Leeds, they had a few more attack-minded players on the pitch, especially as the game went on, and again, United were trying to lock the game man-to-man, particularly when the ball goes to one side. Let's say Leeds have the ball in the left-back zone, it's quite obvious now what United need to do. Dorgu needs to come over, Dalot needs to follow the wing-back, Casemiro needs to connect in midfield. It's almost now a 4 versus 4 over on this side of the pitch. But I would just say that Leeds looked a bit sharper in their combinations. Don't get me wrong, there were moments where United could lock on and win the ball here and put Leeds under pressure and force them to lose possession, but there were also moments where Leeds could start to combine and find those gaps, and that was sort of the difference. I felt that Leeds had a more attacking 11. Now, of course, some of that is because of AFCON and all of the players that we've got out injured right now. That hits United, so we have to play more defenders, but I can't help but feel, you know, as Xerxes could have started this game to have that extra attacker, or one of the young forwards could have played, someone like Shea Lacey. I wouldn't normally ask for them for the sake of it, but, you know, this was an opportunity, a chance for one of them to shine. And I think United struggled on the ball because of it. This was another one of the reasons why the game was very, very level. Simply because there wasn't that technical spark and there wasn't that movement off the ball to make something happen. Now, eventually, Manchester United do make a change. Joshua Xerxes comes on for Lenny Yoro just after the Leeds goal. And I think immediately, if United are trying to score a goal, trying to grab one back, having a striker on the pitch instead of a centre-back is going to make Manchester United more attacking. We can remove tactics from the equation just for one moment. That profile is a more creative profile, it's a more attacking profile, it's a more technical profile, which therefore should give you more chance of attacking, moving the ball forward. And I think we saw that. I think Xerxes had a very, very good cameo. A very good cameo. I think he's been quite poor recently, to be honest. I don't think he's played very well. But in this game, I thought he looked bright, I thought he looked very sharp, I thought he looked after the ball. He sort of showed all the things that Joshua Xerxes should show. Technical quality, a bit of physicality, and a drive to get forward into the final third. And I think he provided that. The other big thing that he provided was the ability to get the ball back on the floor. And that was important. We've spoken so much this video about how this game was direct, it was long balls, it was duels, it was fighting, it was combat in the middle of the park. Xerxes brought that ability just to get the ball on the floor, just to slow things down, and that immediately allowed Cunha to thrive because the ball was on the floor, and it's so much easier to dribble when the ball is on the floor rather than like 8 yards in the air. So that extra technical quality helped. Having that extra attacker certainly helped us, and I think Amorim deserves a little bit of credit for making that change to get him on the pitch, for reacting to that goal rather than just leaving United out there to struggle. Although I think we could have seen more attacking subs, because we saw with this attacking sub what happens when you get those players on. Let's look at the goal. Diogo Dalot in the back line finds Casemiro in that space. We can see him between the two Leeds midfielders. He's got himself that pocket of space that we're talking about, and he is able to find the pass into the feet of Sesko. But what's important is the movement of the United forwards. As Sesko moves towards the ball, Cunha makes the run in behind. That's something that we didn't see enough of through the rest of the game. Movement from these Manchester United players. But it's actually that run from Cunha in behind which holds the Leeds defender a bit deeper. He is scared of Cunha, so he steps off. And that is exactly what gives Xerxes time to receive the ball. Of course, Xerxes is an attacker, someone who more naturally wants to attack, and he has that moment of composure, but also technical quality to slide the ball through, and Cunha gets the goal. And that's what happens when you get attackers on the pitch. Now, ultimately, I think it was another poor result for Manchester United. You know, we're looking at a newly promoted side here. A 1-1 draw isn't really good enough. Normally, you might accept it in a normal season if the rest of our results have been good. But this is another one where it's just like, this is United's level right now, so it's frustrating. Today I'm not going to be quite as critical as what I have been in the past, because I do think it's a difficult place to go. Leeds are in a good run of form. It's a rivalry that always, for some reason, brings the level of the two sides closer, and we know that United were without so many players. I do feel Amorim could have been more aggressive with his selection. Xerxes could have been on the pitch from the start, or we could have seen a Lacey or a Mantato, just playing wide on the right. Not in the middle in all the action, just out wide where they could have provided a threat. But we didn't see that. I thought overall United were very flat on the ball, but off the ball I thought United defended very well. Sort of the bare minimum when you play with so many defenders is you've got to be hard to score against. And recently that hasn't been the case. In this game it was. I think to a man, United defended well. I thought Ugarte and Casemiro did a very good job in midfield, and also that back five protected Lomans very well in goal. A draw is about right. There's not really much more to say than that. You know, United did have that tactical advantage with Casemiro in the middle, but we couldn't quite execute, and beyond that, we looked low on ideas. So a draw isn't a bad result, which perhaps says everything about where we are right now. It's not great. Manchester United come away with a point away from home. I think we've seen worse days from United. I also hope we will see much better. I don't think it's one where we need to overreact and attack the manager too much. It's sort of what we've come to expect a little bit. It's where United are at. It sort of just feels like we're trying to survive really until certain players return, which you can question, you can debate in the comments down below. Is that what Manchester United Football Club should be doing? Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of this result, this performance. Could United have done more, or is the squad that restricted at this moment in time? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we're finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and get your notifications on. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.